I wasn't looking for anyone else. I just wanted to feel seen again. And I know how that sounds. It's easy to assume something dramatic happened, like betrayal, or a fight, or some big reason to drift apart. But the truth is, it didn't start with anything big. It started with silence, with routine, with the slow, quiet way someone can start fading from your world, even when they're right next to you. My name's Melissa. I'm 37. I've been married to Wyatt for 9 years. And, for the most part, we've had a good life. At least, it looks good on paper. Wyatt's a solid guy. Dependable. Never cheated, never raised his voice, always shows up. He's the kind of person who'll fix the leaky faucet without being asked. Who'll go pick up cold medicine when I'm sick, no complaints. But somewhere along the way, I stopped feeling like I was part of his world. And maybe that's what hurts the most. Mornings are always the same now. It's like a loop I can't get out of. I get up before him. I always do. Not because I'm an early bird, but because lying there in silence, pretending we might talk, is harder than just getting out of bed. So I go to the kitchen. Same steps. Same floor. Cold tiles on my feet. I put the coffee on 2 scoops of dark roast every morning, and I set out his mug. The same one with the little dent near the handle from when he dropped it a year ago. I told him to replace it, and he just shrugged and said, "It still works." That's Wyatt. That's us. Still works. No fire, but still running. He comes in 15 minutes later, tie in one hand, phone in the other. No eye contact. No kisses. Just a soft grunt. Then he grabs the coffee and walks away. Every once in a while, I sprinkle cinnamon on top. He loves that. Used to say it reminded him of his mom. I still do it, hoping maybe he'll notice. But he never does. We don't really talk anymore. Not in the way that matters. Our conversations are like passing each other notes. You get the oil changed? Yeah. We need eggs. I'll grab them. There's no real connection. Just logistics. Like 2 coworkers running a household. And last week, he forgot my birthday. Again. I had reminded him the day before, even made a joke about it. Something like, "Don't forget like you did last year, okay?" He laughed, gave me a quick forehead kiss. And then the next morning, nothing. Not a word. I waited until noon. Still nothing. At 3:12 p.m., he texted me. "Happy birthday, babe. Sorry, been slammed. Dinner later?" I lied. Told him I had plans with a friend. I didn't. I just stayed home. Watched old videos on my phone. Ones from when we used to actually laugh together. There's this clip from a trip we took. I think it was our 3rd anniversary. We're on the beach, and he's behind the camera, teasing me about my sunburn. I'm laughing so hard I can't breathe. He's zooming in on my face and saying how beautiful I look, even though I'm bright red. And I remember thinking, back then, God, I'm lucky. I don't feel that way now. Dinners are quiet. Too quiet. He scrolls on his phone, I eat slowly. I try to talk, ask about his day, or if his coworker ever quit, or how the meeting went. He gives short answers. Don't look up. And sometimes, just to test him, I say something totally random. Like, "I saw a bear in the grocery store today." And he goes, "That's nice." Then take another bite. I started writing again last month. Just little poems. I haven't told him. I wanted to see if he'd notice me sitting there at night with a notebook. I filled almost half of it now. He hasn't asked once what I'm doing. There was this night, I remember it clearly, we were sitting on the couch. He was watching some video on his phone, laughing out loud. It was some dumb cat video. You know the kind. A cat jumping into a bowl of popcorn or something ridiculous. He was laughing so hard he actually choked a little. And I just sat there, watching him, thinking, when did he stop laughing with me? Because I couldn't remember the last time we'd shared something like that. Or the last time I made him laugh like that. Or the last time he made me feel anything at all. And that's the thing. The silence starts to feel normal. At first, it was this aching void. But now, I expect it. I don't even check my phone during the day because I know he won't text unless he needs something. We sleep in the same bed. We share the same space. But it's like we're on opposite ends of a glass wall. I can see him. I can hear him. But I can't reach him. There's this little plant on the windowsill in our kitchen. It's been there for years. White ceramic pot, delicate leaves, supposed to bloom in the spring. It started dying last fall, and I kept forgetting to water it. Or maybe I didn't care. A few weeks ago, I looked at it and thought, that's us. Just quietly wilting. But I didn't throw it away. I started watering it again. Just once a day. And a new leaf came up last week. Just one. But it was enough to make me feel something again. I've never told Wyatt any of this. Not because I'm afraid, but because I don't think he'd get it. He'd listen. He'd probably say sorry. Maybe promise to be more attentive. But that's the thing with emotional distance. It's not about one moment you can fix. It's about all the small ones you didn't even realize were breaking. It's like slow erosion. A wave wearing away at the same rock every day until one day it's gone. And you can't even remember what it looked like before. People think cheating starts with something obvious. A kiss, a text message, something scandalous. But for me, it started with an empty chair across from me at breakfast. With compliments that never came. With wearing my favorite dress and watching him glance past me like I was wallpaper. I didn't stop loving him. I just couldn't remember the last time he looked at me like he still did. Case Watts has been in our lives for as long as I can remember. He and Wyatt met in college, roommates turned lifelong friends. He's always just been around. Birthdays, barbecues, holidays, last-minute dinners. The kind of person who blends into your world so seamlessly, you stop really thinking of them as a guest. He's just there. Part of the furniture. Case is everything Wyatt isn't. Loud in a way that's charming, expressive without shame, funny but never mean. He always knows what to say. The kind of guy who can walk into a room and immediately know who's uncomfortable. And somehow, without trying too hard, make them feel seen. And until recently, I never thought anything of that. He was Wyatt's best friend. That was it. I didn't look at him twice. Why would I? But then there was this night. A few weeks ago. We had just finished dinner, one of those nights where I cooked too much and Wyatt spent most of the evening glued to his phone. Case stayed late to help clean up. Wyatt had gone upstairs to take a work call. I was scraping plates into the sink when I felt him looking at me. Not in a weird way. Just present. Aware. He said, "New haircut looks good on you." I froze for a second. I hadn't even told anyone I got it cut. Wyatt didn't notice. He hadn't said a word. I looked over and laughed a little, telling him it was just a trim. He smiled and said, "Still, it suits you. Makes you look like you again." I don't even know what that meant, but the way he said it made something in me shift. It wasn't a pickup line. It wasn't inappropriate. It was just attention, recognition. And it felt like someone had cracked a window open in a room I didn't realize was suffocating me. Since then, it's been little things. Tiny, almost invisible gestures. He offers to carry in the groceries when he stops by. If we're all hanging out and I make a joke, he's the only one who really laughs. One night, Wyatt stepped out to take another call, always the calls and Case, and I ended up sitting on the patio alone. Talking about music. Old movies. The kind of stuff that doesn't mean much, but somehow tells you everything. I told him I used to sing when I was younger. Like, Really sing. In front of people. He looked at me and said, I believe it. You've got a voice that sounds like it wants to be heard. I didn't even know what to say to that. So I just smiled. But I felt it. Deep. Then there was that one afternoon, we all met up at the farmer's market. Wyatt was distracted, rushing through everything like he always does. Case and I ended up at a little honey stand. The lady running it asked if we were married. I laughed and said no, he's just a friend. But when I looked at him, he didn't laugh. He just kind of tilted his head and said, well, her husband's the lucky one. I brushed it off with a joke. I had to, but the words stayed with me. They followed me home. They echoed in the silence between Wyatt and me that night. I sat at the kitchen table, watering that little plant I'd almost given up on. One leaf had turned green again. Just one. And I realized I hadn't felt that kind of warmth in so long. The kind that isn't earned by duty or habit, but given freely. Case never crossed a line. Not really. But he noticed me. He saw me. And the part of me I thought was buried, the part that used to laugh, to sing, to light up when someone entered the room, that part started waking up. Slowly, quietly, but it was there. One night, Case helped me carry in a box of wine glasses I'd ordered. Wyatt was out. Just the two of us. He handed me the last box, brushed the dust off his hands, and said, "You deserve to be seen, Melissa." I didn't know what to do with that. My heart jumped. I smiled, then pretended not to hear him. Changed the subject. Asked about his sister. Anything to push it away. But my hands were shaking a little when I unpacked those glasses. And that night, when I got into bed next to Wyatt, I couldn't stop thinking about how long it had been since anyone said something to me that didn't feel like an obligation. I know where the line is. I do. And I haven't crossed it. I haven't even touched it. But I can feel myself leaning toward it. Not because I want something from Case, but because I want something from myself. I want to feel alive again. Wanted. Interesting. Present. I want to feel the way he made me feel in those small, passing moments. The way Wyatt used to make me feel. That night, I caught myself smiling, and it wasn't for my husband. It started with the mirror. One of those mornings where the light hits just right, and you can see every line, every shadow, every trace of who you used to be. I was brushing my hair, about to leave for work, and I caught my own eyes in the mirror. And it hit me. When did I stop being someone worth noticing? I stood there longer than I should have. Just staring. Not fixing anything. Not adjusting. Just looking. Trying to find the girl I used to know. The one who laughed too loud, who wore red lipstick to class, who once got caught dancing in the rain during finals week because the stress made her delirious. That version of me, she's in there somewhere. I just don't see her anymore. After that night with Case, the comment, the look, the feeling, I started pulling away. From him. From the thoughts. From everything that stirred something in me I didn't know how to face. I didn't respond to his texts right away. I stayed in the kitchen when he came by. I made sure Wyatt was always in the room. I thought if I could control the distance, I could control the temptation. But the truth is, Case kept showing up anyway. Not physically. In my thoughts. In my dreams. In the quiet parts of the day when I was folding laundry or stuck in traffic. That's when I'd hear his voice. Remember the way he looked at me. Not with hunger. With attention. With care. One afternoon I was folding Wyatt's clothes, dress shirts, old t-shirts, socks with no matches, and I felt this weight in my chest. Heavy. Not because of Case. But because of the routine. The ritual of doing the same things over and over again for someone who no longer saw me in them. Every shirt, every sock, felt like another layer I was wearing over myself. Like I was buried beneath the life we built together. Then came the party. Wyatt's work event. Fancy. Loud. Everyone dressed like they were trying to impress someone. I wore this black dress I hadn't pulled out in years. Low back. Fitted just right. I actually felt good in it. Beautiful, even. For a moment, I thought maybe Wyatt would notice. Maybe something would click. Maybe we'd feel like us again. We walked in together. He was already half checked out, talking numbers with someone before we even made it to the bar. And then, as we were passing through the room, he introduced me to a colleague. Not as Melissa. Not as his wife. He said, "This is the wife." Just like that. The wife. Like a category. Like luggage. Case was there too. I didn't know he would be. He saw me from across the room, smiled, raised his glass. We didn't speak. Not then. But later, when Wyatt had wandered off again, Case found me near the balcony. He didn't say anything at first. Just stood beside me, quietly. Then he said, "That dress is a shame." I looked at him, confused. And he added, "It's a shame the wrong person noticed it too late." I didn't respond. I couldn't. Because if I did, I wasn't sure what would come out. Anger. Tears. Relief. All of it. I started avoiding my own reflection after that. I didn't want to see the woman who was starting to feel something again. Because feeling meant wanting. And wanting meant guilt. And guilt. I wasn't ready to carry that. So I tried to keep moving. Stay busy. Fill my schedule. Ignore the ache. But it kept finding me. In the coffee I made every morning. In the silence at dinner. In the tiny details, the way Wyatt no longer touched my back when I passed behind him, the way he never asked me how I was sleeping, the way he said "love you" out of habit, never as a question, never waiting for the answer. And then one evening, Case sent a message. Just 4 words. "Wanna grab coffee?" He followed up a minute later. Just to talk. No pressure. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't say yes. But I didn't say no right away either. I held the phone. Imagined it. The smell of coffee, the sound of his voice, the way he looks when he's listening. I thought about what I would say, what I wouldn't. I thought about how close I'd come to saying yes. And that scared me more than anything. Eventually, I typed back, maybe another time. He didn't push. Just replied, anytime. I put the phone down and sat in silence. My heart wasn't racing. It was steady. Too steady. Like it had already decided something I hadn't. And that terrified me. Because I wasn't unfaithful. Not yet. But my heart was wandering, and that was betrayal enough. It happened on a Tuesday. No reason, no trigger. I just broke. I was in the laundry room, folding a towel, and out of nowhere I started crying. Not little tears. Not a slow ache. Full, gasping sobs. The kind that shakes your shoulders and leaves your throat raw. I sank to the floor, right there on the tile, holding that towel like it was the only thing keeping me from falling apart completely. And here's the part that hit me the hardest. I wasn't crying over Case. I wasn't crying over Wyatt. I was crying over me. Over how far I'd drifted from the woman I used to be. How long I'd been running on empty. I didn't even recognize myself anymore, and for the first time, I couldn't pretend I was okay. The next day, I texted Case. Told him I needed to talk. Nothing dramatic. No build-up. Just quiet words exchanged in a quiet corner of a quiet coffee shop. I kept it simple. I said, "Your attention. It made me feel things I didn't want to feel. Things I didn't expect. Things that scared me. And I need to be honest about that." He didn't smile. He didn't flirt. He just nodded. And then he said something that stuck with me. He said, "I didn't mean to cause a wedge. But you need to ask yourself why it meant so much. Why those moments mattered more than they should have." And then he stopped. Let the silence sit. I wanted to argue. I wanted to explain. But instead, I just sat there, breathing through the weight of what he said. He was right. It wasn't about him. It was about what his attention revealed to me. About how starved I'd been for presence, for connection, for someone to look at me and actually see me. He wasn't the problem. He was the mirror. That night, I didn't eat dinner. Didn't watch TV. I sat outside, in the little patch of garden we never finished. The air was cool. The stars were quiet. I left my phone inside for once. No distractions. No noise. Just breathe. Just stillness. And in that silence, I knew I couldn't carry this alone anymore. I had to say something. Not to Case. To Wyatt. It was late. He was in bed, scrolling, half watching something on his tablet. I stood in the doorway for a moment, heart pounding. Then I walked in, sat down on the edge of the bed, and said, "I feel invisible, Wyatt." I felt alone for a long time. His face shifted. First confusion, then concern, but mostly shock. I don't think he'd seen it. Not really. He knew we weren't connecting the same way, but I don't think he realized how far gone I felt. I told him I wasn't blaming him for everything. That I knew life gets heavy. That we both got comfortable. Distracted. But I needed him to know the weight I'd been carrying. That I had been starving for presence, for attention, for something that felt real between us. And that someone else noticing me shouldn't have been the thing that made me realize how invisible I had become in my own marriage. He didn't say much. Just listened. For the first time in a long time, he really listened. No phone. No defensiveness. Just silence and breath and space for my voice to exist. And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't let myself admit until now. Maybe the most dangerous affair isn't with another person. Maybe it's with the version of yourself you forgot to love. I didn't expect anything to change overnight. There wasn't a magical moment where Wyatt and I locked eyes and everything just healed. But there was space. And space is where healing begins. A week after that conversation, I looked up a therapist in town. Not because of Case. Not even because of Wyatt. Because of me. Because somewhere between laundry loads and empty dinners, I had stopped checking in with myself. I had learned to survive in silence. And I was tired of surviving. I wanted to start living again. So I went. Once a week at first. I didn't know what to say in the first session, so I just sat there and cried. The second session, I talked about the mirror. The third, the towel. Eventually, I started talking about dreams I forgot I had. Ideas I abandoned. Things I used to love. One of those things was painting. I hadn't picked up a brush in over 10 years. But something in me remembered how it felt. How the silence of the painting wasn't empty. It was full. Full of color. Full of permission. I cleared off the old desk in the guest room, bought a few cheap supplies, and started again. Slowly. Badly. But with heart. Every canvas felt like a conversation with the woman I used to be. And I missed her so much. I started texting Kylie again. We got coffee. Laughed about stupid things. She told me she missed me. I told her I missed myself. And we both cried a little. It was messy. But it was honest. Wyatt and I started talking more too. Not the way we used to. Not some dramatic second honeymoon phase. But real talk. About how numb we had both become. How much we had taken each other for granted. I saw effort in his eyes again. Not perfection. But effort. And sometimes, that's more powerful than promises. As for Case, he faded. Not in a cold way. Not in a door-slamming kind of exit. Just quietly. Naturally. Like his part of the story had ended. He was a spark. A mirror. A reminder. And I think, in his own way, he knew that too. Now, I wake up a little earlier. Not because I have to. but because I like the quiet. I drink my coffee slowly. I write sometimes. I paint more. I even sing when no one's home. Not for anyone else. Just for me. If you asked me what I want now, I'd say peace. And maybe to fall in love with myself again. And that feels like a pretty good place to start. The morning sun came through the window today. Soft, golden, calm. I stood by the kitchen plant, the one I thought was gone, and saw 2 more leaves had come in. I smiled. No rush. No big moments. Just life growing again. And for the first time in a long time, I looked at my reflection and didn't look away. I hope wherever you are, you know this too. It's never too late to come back to yourself. And if this story felt like your story, even just a little, tell me. Share your truth in the comments. I'm listening. Maybe we all are.